we're moving Leamington and Kingsville into stage 2.
This was really, really good news.
It's been a burden, been the toughest thing we've had to deal with in my life, certainly.
Restrictions will be lifted in Kingsville and Leamington. The last two communities stuck in stage 1 in Ontario enter stage 2 tomorrow. Meanwhile, testing on farms continues. Dozens of operations waiting on results, and a farm that the health unit shut down gets the green light to restart. Outside, a heat warning for Windsor, Essex, and Chatham, Kent. There are high temperatures coming all week, and it's going to climb day by day. We also have an air quality statement from Environment Canada warning that the high heat is creating elevated pollution levels. Colette Kennedy has all the details tonight. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. People in Kingsville and Leamington got the green light today. Haircuts, patios, wine tasting tours, all available starting tomorrow. Our Tamina Aziz is live in Kingsville tonight. There were protests last week around this time. What's the mood like today, Tamina?
Well, Chris, much different today. People here seem to be in a pretty good mood. I've heard people honking their car horns all day, greeting business owners with a bright smile. Now, normally these streets are pretty filled up. There will be people walking along here, but it's been empty these last couple of months due to the pandemic. But according to these business owners, they say that that won't last very long. In about 6 hours, 12:01 tomorrow, we'll see businesses opening up again, and they'll start to see these streets being busier. I spoke to a bar and grill owner here in Kingsville, and she says the community has been unbelievable since the moment they closed their store back in March.
Incredible well wishes, and supported us through takeout, and just made sure that we were okay. Like, just the constant, like, we're gonna get through this, we're okay, are you okay, what can I do for you? And as a local business, I think that we really said, do you need to borrow from me, do you need to lean on me? Not really, but lean on me, what can I do for you? It's just been a really emotional 112 days.
So she doesn't plan on opening her restaurant tomorrow, and neither does Trevor Loop of Jack's Gastro Pub, rather. They say that this turnaround was quite quick, so he won't be able to open up his patio until later this week.
Missed half the summer already, so we're in it deep right now, and stage 2 is just going to give us an opportunity to fight back now, and to try to fight to save our businesses. But we're looking long term in that we need to continue the conversation of funding for small business that are dealing with this and have had to deal with it for an additional 4 to 5 weeks.
Well, they both say that they're relieved to hear the news, to see that Kingsville is reopening to phase 2. They're pushing hard for phase 3, and they want to see more businesses benefiting from the reopening. Chris.
And to me, that's really interesting. They get the news about phase 2 and they're already looking ahead to phase 3. What's the municipality doing to try and help these businesses out?
Yes, Chris. So I talked to these business owners, and they say that Kingsville is looking into opening up their streets, these streets just behind me here, and having local businesses, those who don't have patios, those who can't benefit from phase 2, bringing their products, their services outside so that customers can eat outside from these shops, can get their haircuts outside, shop around these retail stores. Again, these are these kinds of businesses that can't benefit from phase 2, so they're just hoping that they're calling it the Streets of Kingsville Reopening. So they're hoping to open up this idea Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So on the weekends, again, this is one way for more businesses to work around phase 2. And though I should note that the success of this will depend on having good weather. Chris.
Good weather, exactly. Thanks for this, Tamina. The CBC's Tamina Aziz live tonight. Now, it was Premier Doug Ford who made the announcement this afternoon, while thanking business owners, farmers, and farm workers for their help on getting these two communities to stage 2. Here's why it's happening now. It boils down to three main points, according to Ford. He says that the outbreaks are contained, and we did see lower numbers of agri-farm workers testing positive last week. He also says that community spread of COVID-19 is low and that there's plenty of resources for contact tracing and testing. We do know that resources from across the province are on the ground to help the local health unit out. Now, Ford also said that he plans to come to Leamington or Kingsville for a haircut. It's something that Leamington Mayor Hilda McDonald was happy to hear. She says that she's invited Ford to come for a trim. Now, I spoke with her after the announcement was made about Stage 2 for her thoughts and feelings. Here's part of our conversation. Did anybody at any point give you a sense of why your businesses are able to go to Stage 2 this week compared to last week, especially after the numbers that we were seeing last week at the agri-farm sector?
They've had a number of farms testing negative. The whole farm is negative. So I believe they're thinking that this might be an anomaly, that this farm, based on the size alone, would have higher probability of having infection numbers like they did. I've been contacted by a number of farms that let me know that they had tested clear. So I think there is a feeling that we can encapsulate the industry enough to keep that within their boundaries, within their walls, and that the intersection with the rest of the community can be kept at a minimum for the time being, at least.
What's the message you have for residents in your area as they are about to do something they haven't done in 3 months, go back to a form of normal?
I think they'll be surprised how that feeling is. It's almost shaky. You're venturing out into almost a bit of the unknown. It's something we take for granted. Going out, I still don't go out much, and when I do, I always have I'm leery about the situation. I think folks will find that it's like taking those first few steps or doing something brand new that you haven't done before. It will be interesting.
People can go back to work at Nature Fresh Farms in Leamington. Without naming the company, Windsor Essex Health Unit's medical officer, Dr. Wajid Ahmed, referred to the farm that was put under a Section 22 order last week, effectively halting operations there. Jacob Barker's been on this story. What do we know about the reopening of Nature Fresh?
Well, Chris, CBC News still hasn't heard directly from the company. We've been trying to contact management there since late last week, and they have not returned any of our calls. But at today's briefing, Dr. Wajid Ahmed said those with positive cases of COVID-19 or those that were in close proximity to somebody with the virus were removed from the farm and put in self-isolation. Now that that's done, the farm is able to bring workers back in.
We did our investigation and identified all the high-risk people who needed to be off-farm. So those people are off-farm, and then recognizing that some of these farms have large operation and many of their sites are not even connected with each other from an employee perspective. So the people who are not connected with the farm per se or any of the cases that we are looking at, they can work. And that's the intention to give them some employees to maintain their operation as best as possible.
So Jacob, how exactly does this restart work at the farm?
Well, Chris, we're still trying to find that out. CBC News did verify a Facebook post. It's from a family member of someone at Nature Fresh. The post states that a skeleton crew was brought in last week. I spoke with Pablo Godoy with the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. He's in touch mainly with workers in a packaging facility on site there, and that has about 50 to 60 workers in it. He's heard from them that they are on call to come back to work for a 5 o'clock shift today, and as of this afternoon, it wasn't clear whether or not that was going to happen, and it's still unclear what's happening with the rest of the workers. But as for the workers that are eventually going to go back, he says some of them are scared.
This isn't the only farm where we've received calls from workers terrified from going back to work, not knowing whether or not they're literally risking their lives being at work. And in this case, they know quite well that there's a high likelihood of risking their lives. They're very scared about what kind of real assurances exist. A lot of them have told us that they've been told to continue working when some were feeling sick. And so they know that they're feeling like there's a disregard to their lives or their well-being.
So, Chris, another thing to note here is that though we have not heard from the farm itself in recent days, despite recent calls, we have heard from others speaking to what they experienced at the farm. And some are saying that Nature Fresh was doing a lot to meet the protocols being put forward by the province. They tested workers very early on, and this closure was a result of that testing being done. So the fact that this closure happened at the facility came as a surprise.
When I saw the facilities and I was there in the back houses, everything was really clean. And when I was invited to have the tour, they take out all safety measures, and you have to put all the white coat on it and everything for safety. So I was kind of surprised.
Now, not the only farm in our region. What's happening with tests on some of the other places out here?
Yeah, Chris, according to Leamington Mayor Hilda McDonald, about 40 farms have been tested altogether. And while there are about 176 total in Windsor, Essex County, 40 accounts for a large number of workers since they are the big employers. Ontario Health today said that the test results that have come back so far have been negative, but there are still tests pending, and there is still more testing to be done on the farms through this week. Chris?
Thanks, Jacob. The CBC's Jacob Barker on farm testing with migrant workers in our community. And for the first time since March, the province reported no new COVID-19 linked deaths today. Here in Windsor, 7 more cases. There have been 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and employees at Real Canadian Superstores in Windsor store. Now, the company confirms that there was 1 worker at the Dougal Avenue location, a second at the Walker Road location. And a spokesperson for RCSS is working with public health to minimize risk by increasing sanitization and ensuring physical distancing of workers. Both stores have also arranged for additional cleaning and have since reopened. Those who worked closely with the 2 workers are home self-isolating. And we should tell you as well, the number of complaints coming in, 220 complaints in 6 days to the local health unit that are COVID-related at workplaces. Now, the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit says that they're mostly educational-based, so not enforcement-driven. Their message this morning was that it's not over and no one wants to go back to stage 1. A Canadian man and his Mexican wife have been stuck here in Windsor since the end of April. The couple is trying to move to Mexico, but were refused entry to the United States. As Dale Molnar reports, they say that they're using up their savings while waiting for the border to reopen.
I have a massage bed here that I need I use it all the time for my back problems, and I have arthritis.
Alex Greco and his wife Alejandra have been staying at this Airbnb apartment in Windsor since May 1st. American Customs and Border Protection turned them away on April 30th. They were on their way to Cancun, Mexico to live permanently. Alejandra is allowed to travel through the states because she's a Mexican citizen, but Alex is prohibited from entering the U.S. due to the COVID-19 restrictions because he's Canadian.
They took in consideration what we were telling them, and they checked our car and they saw that we have all the belongings, everything there. The car was pretty packed.
The couple sold their Kawartha Lakes home in January and bought a home in Cancun. Alex is a retired bus driver. Alejandra is a dentist. She wants to set up a practice in Mexico.
I'm very sad because we plan and we're expecting to stay in Mexico right now. Our house is over there.
The couple believes they should be allowed to travel to Mexico since Americans are allowed to travel to Alaska through Canada.
Right now I feel a little bit let down as a Canadian citizen. We consider Mexico the third North American country, which is part of North America here, and we should have free access.
They are allowed to fly, but they have too many belongings to ship.
Very, very expensive.
We were
For 25 kilograms, it's around $600 or something like that.
Having Alejandra drive and Alex fly isn't possible because Alejandra doesn't have a driver's license. They have reached out to Public Safety Minister Bill Blair's office, but have only had a letter back saying they are working on the issue. CBC News has reached out to U.S. Customs and Border Protection for comment. The couple says they have spent $7,000 staying here so far and can't afford to stay here any longer than 2 more months. They say they may have to fly and leave their belongings here somewhere and retrieve them when they can. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Now, you heard Dale speak about us reaching out to U.S. Customs and Border Protection for comment. They did get back to us just moments ago. They say that travel restrictions remain in place until July 21st, but add that the CBP officers make the final determination of whether travelers are admissible and that they take into account the totality of each traveler's circumstances. Now, the provincial government is making a number of changes to the public education system. It says it will end the practice of academic streaming in grade 9, shown to disproportionately affect Black and low-income students. As Lisa Shing reports, it's getting the approval of both critics and advocates.
After a few years in Ghana, Stephen Mensah moved back to Canada to finish high school.
They rather suggested that I take applied classes. It might be easier. They felt that my achievement from Ghana wasn't enough.
2 years later, he's relieved his family advocated otherwise. He's now at Ryerson University, the education lead for Toronto's youth cabinet, and hoping to become a lawyer.
CBC Black students are not the predominant race in our post-secondary institutions, especially university. So by streaming them at such a young age, we kind of maintain the whole, maintain the current status quo, current narrative, and current picture that Black students were not able to achieve greatness or achieve high academic outcomes.
So today's news from the province is welcomed by students and advocates like Mensah, who have spent years lobbying the province to stop streaming students into applied or academic courses. The change will take effect in the 2021-22 school year.
We're the only province in the entire country that does this. And it really is, it's not fair to certain groups of students.
A few years ago, a York University study found a large number of Black students were streamed into applied instead of academic courses and were suspended at a much higher rate in Toronto. Now, the issue was brought back into the spotlight recently after the province sent investigators to the Peel School Board, which found the same thing. The executive director of education nonprofit Success Beyond Limits says ending streaming should only be the start of the province tackling inequality in the education system.
De-streaming, I think, is a step forward in the right direction, but really we need to continue to push and ensure that the resources and the supports are there for every student to achieve.
The Ontario government is also putting an end to young children getting suspended from junior kindergarten to grade 3 and penalizing educators who make racist comments. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
A Catholic pastoral worker who served in Windsor has been let go by the church due to serious allegations against him. Cyril Baggett worked at Corpus Christi Parish since 2016. The Diocese of London says it became aware of the allegations after an individual entered the parish and requested to visit Baggett. Officials with the church launched an investigation, ending in all ties being severed with him last Tuesday. Some of his work since being hired 4 years ago includes visiting schools in the Catholic Board. The board says that none of the allegations against Baggett involves any of its students. A real scorcher out there today, and it's going to continue. A humid weekend as well, and it's not expected to change. It comes after Environment Canada issues that high temperature alert that is expected to last the entire week. Now, the CBC's Jacob Barker checked in with a few folks yesterday to see how people are keeping cool these days.
It's a little hot at the time. I'm a little away from where I stay, and I like ice cold water. And I say it's like a fine wine today.
It's gorgeous out today, and we have this lovely view in front of us. How can we not want this?
People are happy. It's nice to see people walking and sharing, and you got the river right there. You know, there's more to do than get the hell out of town. This is great.
Embrace the fact that it's hot. It's summertime. We've been waiting for this for months. So my thing is, slow down. You don't have to walk at 100 miles an hour. It's the weekend. Try to find a place that's shady. The shade makes a difference. And you know what? A cold drink, not necessarily an adult beverage, but something, stay hydrated, makes all the difference in the world.
Stay hydrated, that's the big one, right? And we can always find some of the beauty there too, just along the river, like a few folks pointed out. Colette Kennedy with all the details in her forecast of the weather this week next. And joining us now for a live look at the weather is Colette Kennedy. Colette, I usually make fun of that map of southwestern Ontario because it looked like an orange, but I got to imagine it's a tomato with these temperatures.
Oh boy, yes, we are likely seeing a tomato in terms of not just the temperatures, but then we factor in this humidity. Boy, oh boy, a lot going on here, because not only do we have the concerns and problems with the heat warning in place, but also the humidity is causing some problems with our air quality. So we're looking at some poor air quality this evening as well. Do be aware of that, especially for any of our viewers there with any kind of respiratory problems. So that's an issue this evening. Some isolated pop-ups in our forecast. I'll kind of explain that, but really the best chance of getting some more widespread rain showers, that's not going to come until we get into the weekend. I mean, next weekend. It's only Monday, so we got to wait for that. But you'll see what I mean for the pop-ups for tomorrow afternoon. So not quite a tomato, but maybe an heirloom tomato in terms of our coloration we're seeing here with the contours and those temperatures that Chris is talking about. So 34, that's just the daytime high, not the current temperature. And there it is with our heat warning in place. Humidex values, I've got 40 plus. Well, go to the plus, because we're talking low 40s in terms of where we're going with some of our Humidex values this week. So there's your current temperature at 32, Chatham-Kent at 30. Factor in the Humidex for now, it's just at 39. Don't worry, we're going to those low 40s. Some of those pop-ups from earlier, and you can see the lightning strikes in Michigan now with seeing less of the daytime heating as things are starting to cool down a little bit. Those are winding down, but it's the same kind of scenario into tomorrow afternoon. They kind of pop up. We're likely to see some of these stretching into southwestern Ontario, then dying off, and then a repeat into Wednesday afternoon once again, and even a better chance of those into Wednesday. But again, they're so isolated. It's a quick downpour, and then they're kind of gone, and it's not very widespread. Later in the week, towards next weekend, that's when we get into that. Your temperatures tonight look like this for your overnight lows, well above seasonal. Your high today, by the way, was 33.5. Every day so far this month, we've been over 30 degrees. And there we go tomorrow, 35, feeling like 41. Wednesday we'll do it again. Thursday we'll do it again. Friday. Saturday we'll be right on the line in terms of holding that trend of 30 degrees or warmer. And by the way, the last day of June, we were there too. So it's our 7th day in a row.
Wow. Wow. Well, we might as well just keep records going then, I guess. Isn't that the way it goes?
Yeah, we'll just keep ticking them off as we go.
One by one. Thanks for this, Colette.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, with all this talk about heat in the summer, there's a sign of normal slowly making its way back. Blue Jays, not the Birds, those professional athletes. We'll have more next. A Toronto woman is facing backlash online after posting a video where she refused to wear a mask at an area hospital.
I'm at St. Joseph's Hospital. They're telling me that if I don't wear a mask, they're not gonna assist me. They want me to leave. Whose policy is that?
Now, the woman posted the video on Twitter saying that she wants to be treated for a suspected broken finger, but when asked to wear a mask, she refused. She says security guards then escorted her out of the hospital. The video now has more than 4 million views. Toronto City Councillor Michael Ford, who had COVID-19 himself, reposted the video saying this, translation, "I don't care about you or anyone else, but you better care about me." City spokesperson Brad Ross said, "Put the camera away, don a mask inside public places, especially hospitals. Doing so protects others, you know, your fellow humans." Baseball is on its way back to these diamonds. Now in Toronto, the Boys of Summer, well, they're going to be back on their home turf. This was the scene last night as the Jays arrived at the Rogers Centre. That's their home stadium. The team's arrival comes after it received clearance from all levels of government to host a summer training camp. Ahead of the delayed season, games are expected to begin later this month. Now it's 6:29 p.m. and that is it for CBC Windsor News. You can always go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor for more. Thanks for watching. You're now going to join Power and Politics in Progress.